I've got to do something different. I have to change this. And if I'm going to be the best for my daughters and my clients and my family, I have got to take care of mine because no one else is going to do it. They've got their own stuff, right?
And hello, welcome to Beat Burnout interview series. I'm Taniya Hussain. I'm a trauma recovery and stress management coach. I have been a social worker for 27 years, having dealt with very difficult situations and trauma for 3 decades, and having worked for how trauma can affect, how stress can affect, how anxiety can affect, and they affect people in so many different ways. Especially if you're carrying that around because that is your work. That is how you earn your money. That is what you're exposed to on a daily basis, Monday, 9 to 5, or if you're a healthcare professional, you are doing shifts. That can take a toll. That can take a toll onto our body where we actually house this trauma. And then it stored in our soma, then we become psychosomatic in issues. And sometimes we actually think that these are medical problems and they can actually become chronic medical problems. And I know some of us know that intellectually, actually knowing it on a holistic level, but sometimes it sadly takes chronic illness that cannot actually be reversed for us to then realize how much our work is affecting us, or it takes a relationship breakdown to make us realize how our work is. And obviously, we need to do our work, earn our money. Sometimes it's also about how we do our work and the importance of self care. And so that's what I am really, I can't tell you, thrilled to have Rita Garnto with us today. And Rita actually defines herself as a self care expert with a personal journey filled with many challenges, including infertility, adoption, family death, and chronic health issues. Rita is no stranger to being overwhelmed and dealing with anxiety. She has her own health struggles, plus 30 years of healthcare experience. She's developed her own self-care philosophy and the steps to obtain a better quality of health. She's taken the overwhelm out of self-care. She's an author, Clinical Self-Care Saves Me, and has lived in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. She wants women to understand how powerful just one small self-care change is and how large of an impact it can have on their future health and well-being. Her mission is to create a global support system for like-minded professionals that want to make changes to their lives and well-being simply say, take care of your body, the only one you will ever own. So, Rita, where are you in the world today?
Hi, Tanya. I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's on the East Coast of the US.
Can you tell me about your own journey and how you got to be doing what you're doing now?
It's a journey that's been long in the making. So when I married my forever husband, I was 40. When I say forever husband, that means I had a practice husband. So then now I'm my forever husband. And we really wanted to have children.
Yeah.
And long story short, we ended up going through 4 miscarriages and 3 years in the adoption system with a failed match with a birth mother. We were actually, after that failed, we had, I don't say in the running, we were one of 2 sets of parents that were looking to adopt a little baby. So we were sitting on pins and needles for 24 hours, and then they ended up choosing the other set of parents. And then by the grace of God, we got a phone call December 31st of 2008 to adopt sisters. They were 2 toddlers. So at this point, I'm already 45 and a half years old. I'm very little childcare experience, didn't babysit a lot.
Yeah.
11 days later, we became parents of 2 beautiful girls. So then let's fast forward. So 6 months after that was a day in July. The 3 of us were in the kitchen. My husband was at work, and one of the girls said something, and I don't remember what, but I was really upset. And so I said to them, I'm taking a mommy moment. And so I stepped out onto the deck that leads from our kitchen. And I sat down and I just felt like everything was caving in. It was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? We've got these two girls. It's affecting my whole life, my massage therapy business. What have we done? And I sat there and I started to cry. And then my youngest daughter came out and she looked at me, didn't say a word, went back in, got her sister. And the next time I looked up, there was these four big brown eyes looking at me. And my youngest said, Mommy's sad. Mommy's sad. And I realized, yes, I was. And maybe she was trying to make me feel better, but I ended up crying even harder and I just couldn't stop. So I finally called my husband. He came home, we set a doctor's appointment, and I went to the doctor's. And we had a great conversation, and he handed me a prescription for some antidepressants. And then he said to me, what changes are you going to make? And I was like, excuse me, what do you mean what changes I'm going to make? You just gave me the magic pill, right? It's all going to be better in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And that was a really big turning point because I realized that, you know what? I do have some control. There are things that I can do and changes I can make. So it started me on this process of looking at what were my time constraints? What was my time availability that I could spend some more time on me? Our financial constraints? How could my husband help? And I started to put all those things together. And out of that came what I call now simple self-care.
Mhm.
And for me, simple self-care is any intentional self-care action that you do that's not rocket science, it's not complex, and you can slide into your day because we're all busy. So it was one of the first things I started doing is I had back surgery in my mid-20s. So I have a very strong family history of osteoarthritis. So I've had knee surgery, back surgery, and neck surgery. But one of the first self-care things I started doing was stretching when I brushed my teeth. So we're supposed to brush our teeth for 2 minutes anyways, right? So I'd put my foot up on the counter and do like a hip stretch to stretch out my hip flexors. And then by releasing my hip flexors, I would allow my pelvis to rotate back in a normal position, and it actually helped my back pain. And I was a little bit happier and a little more pleasant to be around. And so that was like something simple that I could do, that I could control and do as many times during the day as I wanted to. And I didn't have to go to the gym. I didn't have to spend an hour somewhere. It's just something I could do. So that's really where the simple self-care journey started. And now my girls are 11 and 13, and I'm still stretching when I brush my teeth. Well,
It's amazing that you realized you needed to make some changes. And I wanted to go back a bit and ask you, was there any other sort of the darkest time in your life that you realized that self-care was important and you needed to do that, but you realized that you were so burnt out, you just kind of felt like you couldn't give to your massage therapy business, you couldn't give to the girls? Was it because you were burning yourself out, Rita?
yes, I think I really wasn't prepared to become a mom. Like, who's prepared to become a mom, honestly? And then especially that this beautiful gift of these two toddlers, which came with a lot of baggage. So there was a lot of emotional, tension, and there still is in our house. So that was a dark time. And that was 2009. So from 2003 to 2009 was just horrible with the miscarriages, and my mom was sick and my dad was really sick. Probably. So I deal with anxiety and mild depression at times. So I think what's interesting is when I look back, even in my teenage years, I journaled and I exercised. So those were the two things that I did without realizing that I was doing self-care. And I just seemed to be different than other people. And I seemed to wear my emotions more on my sleeve than everybody else. And I needed to find ways to cope. I have the personality. I always think, how can I make tomorrow better? And so I think that started really in my teens. And then having worked in respiratory therapy for the first 20 years of my medical career, I was in life and death situations, working in intensive care units. I was on the trauma flight team. So there was always, I knew that I had to do things for myself in order for me to cope with all this stuff. And it usually was exercise. Journaling and exercise were the two big things.
And I'm really glad that you've talked about being surrounded with trauma as being in healthcare for a long time, because a lot of healthcare professionals are watching us and listening to us. And you've said this kind of like twice just now, is the fact that you decided you had to make the changes yourself. Nobody else was going to make them for you. Your husband wasn't going to make them for you. Your daughters weren't going to make them for you. Another family member wasn't going to make them for you. You needed to make them for you. And was it easy to reach out for help? Are you the kind of person to reach out for help? Because I know a lot of healthcare professionals and social workers, they find it so hard to do that. What have you ever found it easy?
It's actually much easier now, probably within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I've always been a lone wolf, and I now live on the East Coast of the United States. I was born and raised in British Columbia, Canada.
Okay.
I lived in Saudi Arabia for 4.5 years. So I've traveled around, and I didn't grow up with my friends. I always had to make new friends. And I thank Brene Brown. I read her book, Gifts of Imperfection, years ago. And I realized what I thought was a curse, which is sharing lots of information with people. I used to think, oh my gosh, because I'd hear TMI, Rita. Oh, it's too much information. So what I realized, though, the reason I'm doing that is because I want to connect. I make myself vulnerable so that I can connect and find those that are dealing what I'm dealing with as well, because I want to be able to share. And at this point in my life, I never want anybody to feel like they're alone. I have laid in bed wondering what would it be like if I just wasn't here. I'm so tired and so stressed. And I've had suicidal thoughts. I've driven home and thought, if I were going to commit suicide tonight, how would I do it? And looking back, that was really frightening. And a year and a half after this near nervous breakdown with my girls, a year after that, my mom died unexpectedly, very unexpectedly.
Okay.
And so I was making a lot of trips. My 88-plus-year-old dad he still lives in British Columbia. So I made about 5-6 trips within a year to the West Coast, 3,000 miles away. And I ended up rupturing a disc in my neck. I ruptured C6. When I finally got to the orthopedic surgeon, was already losing strength in my left arm. I was eating way too much Advil. Like I got a 10-minute lecture from the surgeon about how much Advil. I know better, but my pain was usually 8 out of 10, tingling. And I realized after I had the surgery, I took 8 weeks off, that I was killing myself. And then again, it was another major turning point. I call that brick wall number 2. I've got to do something different. I have to change this. And if I'm going to be the best for my daughters and my husband and my clients and my family, I have got to take care of myself, because no one else is going to do it. They've got their own stuff, right?
And
They all have their own
I'm
stuff.
really glad that you've said that. I've got to take care of myself. And this is something that I realized that I was expecting everybody else to take care of me, rescue me, and looking for whoever that was, that therapist, that counselor, my husband, a friend. And I remember this time last year, it dawned over several months. The only person that's going to take care of me is me. Yes, people love me and people are there for me, but the only real person that can take care of you is you.
Exactly.
And then I noticed when I started taking care of me and realizing that I'm important, that I am worthy, people started shifting how they were like relating to me. They started taking care of me in a much bigger, better way. And I started appreciating them for what they were doing, whereas I never did before. It was because I never felt good enough. Whatever they did was never good enough.
Yeah.
Was that kind of a similar thing?
Yeah, oh my gosh. The more women I work with and talk to, that is a common thread, is that I don't feel like I'm worth it. I don't feel like I deserve it. I'm not good enough. And I have to stop and wonder now, okay, now you and I are from 2 different continents, right? So what is it that we women, what messages do we get as we're growing up that says we're not good enough? Like, where does that come from? And I'm trying so hard with my daughters that they know that they are good enough. It's scary. I used to think that I was not good enough. I didn't see my value. I compromised myself. But now's the point. If I'm tired and I don't feel good,
Mm.
I'm not any good to anybody, then I'm going to lay on the couch and watch TV, or I'm going to read my book, or I'm going to disappear into the bedroom to read because I can't do it. Our cup has to be filled, continually filled, but we have to fill that cup ourselves.
And I'm so glad that you've said that because it seems that you had like this transition of, on the one hand, like being vulnerable so you could connect to other people, but also it seems to be for some time in your life that you were, what did you say, lone wolfing it?
Mhm.
Kind of like trying to do a lot of things yourself. Can tell us about that.
So I was in respiratory therapy for 20 years, and then I went to massage school. And then, so when you start a new business that you think you have to be able to do your website and you have to know the answers to all the questions, and you have to recreate the wheel. Instead of now we have Google. Back it was 2004, so the internet it just
Yeah.
and I didn't Google a lot.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I had to create the processes myself. And now at this point, I'm involved with different networking groups and I have different peers. I have a tribe. And if I don't know a question about something, then it's, you know what? I'm going to ask someone, like I'm going to ask Tanya about that trauma workshop, emotional support, or I'm going to ask questions now rather than thinking, oh, I have to do all the research. For example, I'm doing stress management health coaching. I'm in the process of rewriting my client contract. And so instead of trying to create it myself or try to take my old one and make it, I asked one of my peers who's also a coach and said, would you mind if I see what your template looks like so I can get an idea of, and it was no problem. So reaching out and asking, because if someone asked me, I'd gladly share
Yeah.
information. So I don't know. I don't know why we're afraid to do that.
And maybe it comes from the fact that sometimes we feel we're not good enough. So we're constantly trying to prove that we're good enough by trying to do everything ourselves. But then we realize that no, this isn't working. And sometimes it takes really costly realizations, as in like somebody, your health to suffer, your own health to suffer, or your friendship with somebody else suffers, or your relationship with somebody else suffers, to realize that, hey, I'm interdependent. I don't have to be this independent superwoman all the time. I'm actually an interdependent person that I need other people and they need me. And it's a give and take relationship. And I wanted to ask you, how easy was it with the realization with your like daughters that they were quite obviously young to make that transition that, to ask your husband for help, ask family members for help, ask your business colleagues for help. Was it easy or did you find that you had to overcome a lot of shame and embarrassment? Could you tell me about that?
At first, when we became parents, when we became a family, I really thought that behind closed doors, there was no yelling in other people's houses. There was only yelling in ours, and the kids were good.
Yeah.
So as I started to open up, so yes, there was shame because thinking, wow, why am I different? I'm such a horrible mom. But as I started to open up to moms, they would share their stories, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that because that's exactly how I feel. So
Mhm.
asking for help, I've been really blessed with my husband is very engaged and because it was very stressful for both of us and to be like, you know what, I need a timeout. I need to go and just put earplugs in and read. And and he was in the space to allow that. And when there were times that he said, Rita, I can't do this anymore. He'd be like, you go. So with my husband, it was easy because we've always had really good communication because of all the things that we've gone through with the miscarriages and all that. Now, asking friends, probably a little bit harder. You don't want to impose on anybody and they're going to say, what's wrong with me? How come I can't handle it? Yeah, that took a little bit, but opening just when something's tough, just doing stepping through that door into it. And then it gets easier. And then you realize that they need help. And it's, oh my gosh, let me look after, well, you have the kids over. They can all play while you go do your errands or shopping or whatever. So then it becomes an exchange of help. But yes, there is shame because you think I should be able to handle this. And it's like, it takes a village.
It takes a village to take care of children. Yeah,
It really
very
does.
true. And I think nowadays, with the way people are living away from their families or they're living away from even friends, there is a lot of pressure on parents to be everything to their children. And it's also sometimes the pressure that we put on ourselves, because it's not easy. When you've been lone wolfing majority of your life, it's not easy to ask for help. And you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to feel that shame. You're going to feel that embarrassment. Rita and I have felt it. But when you start doing it, the more you do something, the more easier it gets. But it's just that first step that you need to take. Could you tell me, how did that feel when you actually just started saying what was going on? How did that feel when you started voicing that? Oh my God, I'm yelling, I'm such a bad mom. How did that feel?
Actually, it was a relief. It was like a weight was lifted off. So I remember sharing with one of my next door neighbors, the mom, and I was just so thankful and grateful that she had shared with me that she had similar emotions of, oh my gosh, I want to pull my hair out. And it was such a relief. Like literally, I could feel my shoulders just dropping, and I'm not alone. And if things get tough and I need someone to talk to, I can just go over, knock on her door, and go talk with her. And the more I shared, some people aren't ready to hear my story, and some people are not ready. I'm too much for them. It's too much. But more and more, and as I'm getting older, I'm finding that even when I'm talking to strangers in stores, because that's what I do, I'm just really friendly. It's amazing how when you smile at someone and ask them how they're doing, or you say, oh, you roll your eyes and say, oh my goodness, my kids. And they go, oh my gosh, you too. Like it's like love blooms. It's all of a sudden there's this feeling of more cohesiveness and that we are in this together, and it's lighter. It feels lighter, and yeah, it's uplifting and empowering because it's, oh my gosh, okay, this is not as bad as I think it is.
And then you feel less alone. And
Absolutely.
being alone will, it's a very lonely experience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh,
It's a very isolating experience. But you can feel less lonely by just stripping off that mask. Just do it slowly. You don't need, that's painful. That can be really
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but sometimes maybe look around and select one person in your life, in your circle, that you can share it with. And if they're not physically around, because sometimes in our lives they're not physically around. There have been times that I've felt like I can't share it with people that are in my physical world. So I've shared it in Facebook groups, lots and lots of private Facebook groups, or share it with a professional. Go to your doctor. That's a very confidential, safe place. Approach a telephone helpline or a lot of online spaces. But it's really important to share because, Rita, you seem to understand that there is a link, a connection to how you're feeling and how your body just stores that anxiety and that stress. Can you tell us a little bit more about that in your experience as a healthcare professional?
Was being a massage therapist for 16 years, seeing a lot of people as we get stressed, this happens, right? So we curl in. So we become closed. And then as we become closed and our shoulders round forward, and we're not taking very big breaths and we're not getting as much oxygen to our brains. So it really was a cascade and we don't feel good. We're getting headaches now and this hurts and that hurts. And we're just even more crabby. Like I tell my girls, I have my crabby pants on today and I give them fair warning. So really it does manifest with tightness. And then when muscles are tight, they're not getting enough oxygen. And then you get the pain sensation and it's just, yeah, it just makes you miserable. Like it just not only emotionally, then physically. And I think it's just this circle that the worse your body feels, the worse your mind feels, the worse your body feels.
The worse you feel, yeah, and then it becomes that. Then you get yourself all, I know sometimes when I'm saying, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. And all I can say to myself is, I need to sleep. And the more I'm saying I need to sleep, the more I can't sleep. And then you get even, and that's
Exactly.
very basic level. So can you imagine what you are doing by the fact that you are carrying so much of other people's pain, other people's anxiety, other people's stress, other people's trauma, I had a situation at work today. I'm a social worker, 4 days in the week. The rest of the time, I do online coaching. I had a situation at work today where one boy on my caseload was stabbed. Luckily, fortunately, he is alive. But I had to deal with his mum, who stabbed for 2 days, not wanting, not knowing whether he was going to live or die. And it's another life. So it's not my son, but it's her son. And you're having to carry that. And so you're going to carry that. It's not something that you're just going to switch off when you get home. And so, can you imagine with all that Rita that she's saying, that affects your posture, it affects your whole breathing, it affects how you feel. And then it could be that you get home and then you can see your kid, and then you've got that little bit of guilt. Oh my God, thank God my kids are alive, that your kids are alive. Stupid thoughts come into your head, but it's a very natural feeling that a lot of social workers and healthcare professionals, when they're dealing with trauma day in, day out, feel. It's what's called survivor's guilt. And then we can't even enjoy that evening that we have with our kids, our family. So it's so important to recognize how your work affects you and how it can actually have such a gradual, accumulative, and that's why I love the work that you do, Rita, in the fact that you talk about self care. How do you incorporate self care, say, in your daily routine? If you could start from the morning to the afternoon to the evening, could you like tell us about that?
This could take a while.
We've got about 5 minutes.
So I guess you want to start with, because I do have chronic lower back problems, I will actually give myself a hug. And basically, I'll bring my knees up to my chest just before I get out of bed and just slowly stretch. So, really, I'm stretching out my lower back muscles and waking up a little bit. And then when I get up, I will actually roll to my side and get up properly. So, I roll to my side and push myself up, as opposed to sitting straight up. Because then when you do that, you're straining your neck and your lower back. And it may not hurt the first time, but the thousandth time that you do that, you're definitely straining. Roll over to my side. I get up. When I brush my teeth, I am stretching. I drink a full glass of water when I get up, just to start the rehydration process. A lot of mornings, I have organic flaxseed neck wraps. They're horseshoe shape. I will put that in the microwave while I'm waiting for the coffee or making the kids breakfast. And I will put that on my shoulders. And what I like about that is it's moist heat and it's weight to it. So it's reminding my shoulders where they need to go. I eat pretty clean. When I do work out, I do walk my dogs, and I walk and I do taekwondo, and then I will have ice wraps. So I'll put after exercise, I'll put ice wraps around my knees. I have several mantras I use. Some days I feel like I'm still not good enough. So I have mantras such as I love and approve of myself, which I'll repeat over and over again. Yesterday was a day that I said that a lot. I am worthy. I deserve it. I do some mantra teaching as well with my coaching. Let's see. I make sure that I take time. I set boundaries. So my girls know that 7:30, 8 o'clock, mom's done. So I'm going to be on the couch and it's mom's time. I cooked, I worked, I helped them with their homework. But then that's kind of like my time, my cutoff is. So setting boundaries. So those are just some of the examples that I do. Though they're not complex. Like it's not.
No, self care does not have to be very costly. It doesn't have to be a weekend spa day. It doesn't have to be an expensive holiday. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do self care in your own home. Self care is a mindset.
Absolutely.
I have
Like sitting in front of the computer, you've got the anterior rotated shoulder. Like simply just reach up and twist. Like even just take a minute to move. What you're doing is increasing circulation, you're deep breathing. And that's enough if you do it often during the day, that little bit is going to add up. I love this, my philosophy of one. Pick one thing to change, add to your schedule. Just start with one.
Just start with one. Remember that. Just start with one. And this is something that Rita actually says sometimes, starting with one simple self-care strategy means that it can actually make a lasting, massive change in your life.
Absolutely. Set yourself up for success. Let's start with one change only.
Yeah. Because otherwise, sometimes majority of my life, I thought felt good enough. It's only when I started really immersing myself in personal development and self-care that I started feeling good enough the majority of the time. But then when I start hearing that negative self-talk, I have to then check myself and change those thoughts. But if you're gonna like constantly feel good enough and think, oh, one is not good enough, I've got to do three things, then you're gonna end up not doing those three things. But if you just focus on the one, that's the
You
first
can,
step.
and you can add more later, but let's get that one down pat. Because I know how many times, Tanya, have you thought, tomorrow I'm going to start eating better. So I'm going to give up sugar and I'm just going to eat anything that's green and I'm going to work out for 2 hours and I'm going to do this and this. Well, the first day you're like, whoa. And by the second day, you're like, I don't know about this. And third day, it's forget this. This is just way too much. Start with
Yeah,
one thing.
it's true. It's very true. Just one thing. Drinking water when we wake up in the mornings, drinking water. Like some people call it water therapy. It's just having 2 or 3 glasses of water. It really cleanses you and it hydrates you.
Warm water, a little bit of
Yeah.
lemon juice, gets things moving. And that's good too.
It's very true. Thank you so much, Rita, for your
Oh, and thank you,
time.
Tanya, and thank you so much. It's been awesome talking to you.
I've learned loads. Please tell me what resonated with you, what you found helpful, what you didn't find helpful. I really want to know. So please reply to my emails and I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.